Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for gathering here today. Thanks, Diane, for organizing this and so much else. Let me just start off by saying a few things, and then we can have lots of time for question and answer. So, first of all, as I think you probably know, the fight for financial reform in Washington is not going particularly well. The Senate legislation, which continues to move rather slowly, but probably picking up speed now, is quite diluted. It is better than nothing, to be honest. There are some sensible pieces in here, including the consumer protection proposals. But in terms of the core issue that I focus on and that Diane highlighted for you just now, the power of the biggest banks, I'm afraid to say that this legislation does very little, if anything, to weaken those banks. Now, there was a great opportunity last week with the so-called Brown-Kaufman amendment that's named for Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio and Senator Ted Kaufman of Delaware. And Senator Kaufman in particular had been leading that charge for several months. It was quite a fight to get a vote, even on this amendment, but they did get a vote. And they ended up with 33 senators in favor and 61 against, so the amendment failed. Now, on the one hand, this is a disappointment. It's definitely a setback. It's not what we wanted. On the other hand, though, I would emphasize the positive aspects here. So first of all, we got a vote, which even a few weeks ago did not seem like the most likely outcome. Secondly, 33 senators stepped up and said we should not just cap the size of our largest banks, we should actually make them smaller, shrink the banks. That was the essence of the proposal, as understood by everybody on both sides of the question. And thirdly, we have other avenues going forward through which we can put pressure on the regulators. We can stay engaged with the legislation, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. We can also push for other related pieces. And the news today, of course, is an amendment, a modified amendment, pushed by Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, has passed. It was sufficiently modified so that it passed unanimously, and it's not what everyone wanted by any means. That's how you get unanimous support, by watering it down. But it does allow for a more extensive audit, what the Federal Reserve did during the crisis, than anything we've seen before. And I think it combined with other information we have about what is likely to be found in that audit, this is potentially helpful pressure, source of pressure on the Federal Reserve to change how we deal with the biggest banks, and also probably on the regulators to press the biggest banks to curtail their most risky activity, and actually, as we move forward, to break itself up. And I think that's the key point to me, and that's the point of our book, Bankers. And it's also the message that we bring on our website, Baseline Scenario, all the material based on the scenario is free, available on a basis. The debate is open for everyone to participate in. And I think, and of course we're open to other ideas, and I think part of the point of this meeting and other interactions is to brainstorm with you about other ways forward. But to start with, the economic power of the banks that lies at the heart of the problems. And we have to find ways to press it. We have to find senators who are willing to take this forward. We have to, for two, and I can talk about some specific ones we have in mind. I don't think anyone should, that this fight is over. The banks, without question, have largely won around. But we've also come a long way just in the past year. When we wrote in the Atlantic that Diane decided, there were very few people who understood the problem of these firms. And even the administration now, which I think has for a long time looking in the direction of future, even they now begin to understand the dangerous practice of these banks. And even the administration starts to push back against the biggest banks on some issues. So I think there is reason for hope. My message is a positive one, but it's also an issue we have to keep working on. There is no question that if we all go off into our separate states of our own concerns, then the bank go about just as they did in September 2008. And Diane is exactly right of all the things between bank's behavior through September 2008, crisis and broken, and all of the disruption and job losses and budget cuts that you've experienced and we've all experienced. So I'm actually to ideas, questions. We turn it now to questions from you. Ideas particularly about the right way, the wrong way to go forward in practical terms about